What's up, family? We have another Patreon request. We got stop saying the French are cowards in war. I don't say that. And to be honest with you, I don't know anyone who has said that. Not gonna lie. Really. In conversations, talking, whatever. No one, I do not know one person who has ever said that. Yes, I have heard, well, we had to go in and we had to help the French against Germany. We had to help them. Otherwise, they would have, what I mean? I've heard that. But I've never heard French are cowards. No, never heard of that. But anyway, let's go. Let's check it out. Let's see what they're talking about. I have a feeling, c'est pas vrai. I have a feeling it's not true.
Don't underestimate the French military. Any discussion of a nation's reputation in warfare will almost inevitably lead to derogatory remarks directed towards the French.
See?
Their military exploits are the punchline of countless jokes, memes, and other disparaging comments, lampooning them as cowards or inept on the battlefield. The reality, however, is much different. Throughout its long history, the French nation has had an extensive and distinguished record of military triumphs, dating back as far as the early Middle Ages. In actual fact, for millennia, French soldiers have fought and died with courage, skill, and distinction. The story of French military history begins in the wake of the collapse of the Western Roman Empire. The Franks, a Germanic tribe from further east, pushed westward into what is now France. And under the reign of King Clovis I, the land in the Pyrenees in the southwest, the Alps in the southeast, and the Rhine River in the east was also secured. Though these borders would shift countless times over the intervening centuries, the rough area of French territory had been established. Clovis's descendant, Charles Martel, played an integral role in world history. In 732 AD, he and his Frankish army prevented the Arabo-Umayyad dynasty advance into France, inflicting a crushing defeat on their enemies at the Battle of Tours. With this victory, the ever-rising tide of Islamic expansion into Europe was halted. Throughout the Middle Ages, French forces fought in numerous wars against other European powers. Most extensive campaigns were against the English.
Yeah, we know about that.
During a series of conflicts now known as the 100 Years' War, the French would suffer significant defeats at several battles, including Crécy, Poitiers, and Agincourt, and would later see much of their land devastated by English raids. In spite of these setbacks, the latter portion of the conflict saw the French drive the English from their lands on the continent. As the Middle Ages gave way to the early modern era, the French army, under the reign of Louis XIV, became the largest and most powerful in Europe, almost 400,000 strong.
That's impressive. Seriously. 400,000. Strongest army in Europe.
This force pioneered many advancements in military innovation, including logistical and support systems, field hospitals, and the introduction of standardized uniforms to its soldiers. The French military record during the early modern era is mixed, with both victories and defeats, but no more so than any other contemporary nation. It was during the late 18th and early 19th centuries when the French reached their zenith of military strength. Under the leadership of Napoleon
I knew he would be brought up.
and Bonaparte, French armies marched across Europe, smashing rival powers at the decisive battles such as Marengo and Austerlitz. Defeats were caused by weather and logistical issues, such as the campaign against Russia in 1812, or by superior enemy tactics,
I saw the movie. Napoleon. It was good. It was a good movie.
such as Napoleon's final defeat at Waterloo in 1815.
Yeah.
During this time, the abilities or courage of the individual French soldier was never in doubt. A century later, French soldiers found themselves embroiled in one of their most tragic military campaigns. The First World War introduced mass slaughter on an industrial scale, and France found itself in the middle of the conflict, with the majority of the fighting on the Western Front taking place on French soil. Vast areas of the French countryside were transformed into a shell-cratered hellscape, one in which millions of men were trapped for years. During this tumultuous time, French soldiers bore the brunt of the carnage, suffering titanic casualties. In the first 2 months of the war, over 300,000 French were killed.
Ooh. I didn't know it was that many.
Number that would swell to 500,000 by the end of 1914.
500,000.
Hey guys, we've got an announcement. We've launched a Simple History Discord server. We'd love for you guys to just come over and drop by, join the community, talk about history. You can even give video suggestions. You can talk about past episodes.
Is that it? Oh, I was going to get nervous. Like, what? You better be more in this video. All right.
We have a few sneak peeks about future episodes and get to know some of the community and the team behind Simple History. We're going to be there for a while, and we plan on big things for this server. So give us a few minutes of your time. Come on by, say hi, and we'll see you there.
I can't believe his narrator voice is just about the same when he speaks. That is so cool. Hi, I am D. Welcome to this channel. Could you imagine if it all, and then I did the video and be like, this is funny. Wow, that's amazing news. I had no idea. Really? Right? You listen, it's cool. Very cool.
There was no battle as bloody, or one which exemplified the tenacity and courage of France's military, than the Battle of Verdun. In 1916, German General Erich von Falkenhayn launched an offensive aimed at the city of Verdun. Allowing such a strategically and symbolically important location to fall into enemy hands was unacceptable to French high command, and under the direction of Marshal Philippe Pétain, Verdun was reinforced. Their battle cry at the onset of this fight was "On ne passe pas," or "They shall not pass." The battle devolved into a grinding stalemate, with both sides dug in, stubbornly refusing to surrender. Over 40 million artillery shells were fired during the fighting.
Wow.
At the end of the 303rd day, 162,000 French soldiers had lost their lives, with another 377,000 wounded, missing, or captured.
Wow.
True to their word, the French held their positions, and the Germans didn't pass those French positions. In the face of these and other monumental losses, the French military did in fact mutiny during the First World War. Strangely enough, however, they didn't lay down their arms. These men stayed in their trenches and continued to resist the Germans, but refused to participate in futile attacks against the heavily entrenched enemy positions. In the words of one group of mutineers, "You have nothing to fear. We are prepared to man the trenches. We will do our duty, and the Germans will not get through. But we will not take part in attacks which will result in nothing but useless casualties."
See, that's the way all generals and captains should be. That should be their thought process. There's 500,000 people over there. Why are we going to attack that? No, we're going to be smart. 100%. I could not agree more. This is how everybody should be. No. You want me to? No, I'm not committing suicide for you. You go, Mr. Captain, Mr. General. Go ahead, lead the way. I'll follow. Yeah, bullshit. You want me to go and get killed? Sure, while you sit back here with your binoculars. Oh, yeah, that was a bad plan. Shit, just lost half the army. No. This guy right here, speaking like that, that's what I'm talking about.
Even when mutineering, French soldiers were still willing to lay down their lives for their nation. By the end of the war, over 1.5 million Frenchmen lay dead, with millions more wounded.
That is absolutely insane numbers. Insane numbers. All for war. I mean, it's crazy how man thinks, man.
Though estimates vary, roughly 18% of those who served in the ranks were killed, effectively wiping out a generation of young men. Yet in spite of these catastrophic losses, they still held firm against repeated enemy offensives. It was a generation later that France would earn its reputation as an inept military power, but this is far from the truth. After the outbreak of the Second World War, France and Britain declared war on Germany. After finishing off Poland, the Wehrmacht turned its attention west, breaking through the Low Countries and driving into France to circumvent the Maginot Line, a formidable series of defenses that ended at the Belgian border. The oversight by French high command, as well as advances in fast-moving maneuver warfare, caught the Allies off guard, and France was overrun in 6 weeks, an astonishing feat by any military standard. It was due to this fast capitulation that France gained an undeserved reputation as a nation of cowards with an incompetent military.
See, that is crazy. I could not disagree more.
This, however, is not a fair assessment.
No.
Other powers struggled against the German war machine, but had other advantages that France lacked. France didn't have the protection of the high seas enjoyed by Britain or the vast landmass of the Soviet Union, and were overrun in short order. Even when defeated, the French people still fought on, both in exile and as partisans. The French resistance played a vital role in frustrating German plans on the Western Front. Their sabotage, assassination, and intelligence-gathering operations were a key component in the success of the D-Day landings in 1944. To this day, the French resistance is seen as the symbolic representation of all resistance movements. After the Second World War, France was involved in many conflicts around the world, particularly in former colonies such as Indochina and Algeria. During the global war on terror, the French military provided support in the US-led invasion of Afghanistan. In addition, French air power effectively enforced no-fly zones over Libya, which allowed rebels to overthrow the dictator Muammar Gaddafi. French forces have also been at the forefront of anti-terror operations in other parts of Africa. They are currently the only NATO nation to participate in Operation Barkhane, which combated militants in West Africa. Currently, around 3,000 French soldiers are stationed in Chad, the Ivory Coast, Mali, and other nations. One of the reasons for France's poor reputation can be attributed to their methods in these low-intensity conflicts. While most other nations use a more flashy shock and awe approach to combating terrorism and insurgency, France employs a more subtle strategy. In 2007, in order to stop an incursion of rebel forces in the Central African Republic, France sent 2 waves of paratroopers and a single fighter jet to halt the advance. No more than a few dozen were involved, and the French press didn't pick up the story until weeks after. It's this precision approach that lacks the same fanfare of other nations, which helps contribute to the popular conception of France as lacking military ability.
Just because it's not talked about.
Throughout the long history of their nation, the French have had military successes and failures, but no more or less than any other nations.
Yep.
Their reputation as a nation of cowards who surrender at the slightest provocation is not only unfounded, but based on biases and misconceptions that don't take into account the countless acts of bravery and martial success of the French people.
Damn, that's messed up. Got ants on his face. Fly landed. Very detailed. Anyway, great information. Great information. Because again, I don't know if it's that deep that we're like, oh, they're nothing but cowards. They don't know how to fight at all. I don't think it's that. I mean, I'm telling you, I've never heard a conversation like that in my life. I've just heard, like, the worst I've heard, honestly, is just, yeah, they needed our help, you know? And meanwhile, there's like 3 other countries that help too. But it's like, but they needed our help. You know, we had to help them. Otherwise, they were gonna lose. We had to help them. You know, against Germany. So, but other than that, I've never heard like, they're pussies, they're cowards, they don't know how to fight. No, I've never heard that. I don't know. It's sad if that's what people really think. But yeah, no, I saw the Napoleon movie. Oh hell no, you guys are definitely not cowards. Definitely not cowards. You just need a smart general that knows what he's doing once in a while, you know? Get the English on some ice, and then shoot the cannons at the ice, and then they all end up in the water, drowning. I mean, that was brilliant. That was a Napoleon move. All thought out in his head. Very smart. Very smart until, you know, but then he started thinking, like, hey, we could rule the world. We can't lose. We're too, you know, you can't get cocky. You cannot get cocky. Because then when you get cocky, that's when you make mistakes. And sure enough, eventually, Napoleon made some mistakes. And that was the end of that. But I don't know. Anyway, the more videos like this are needed on the internet. Really, they are. So people can watch, read, listen, and make your own decision on what you think. Rather than some guy who doesn't know shit tell you about something that he wasn't even born when it happened. You know what I mean? Because most of these people saying shit like this, they weren't even born during the war. You know what I mean? They don't even know they know nothing. They just, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. You know? That's the way it is. All right. Anyway, stop saying the French are cowards. Arrête. Arrête. Don't do it no more. All right. Take care. Peace out. À la prochaine.